right, welcome to another segment of the F-250. Yes, the 1984, and I have it pulled out of the building. I got it covered, and I just got done cleaning down the top of where it's going to get primered. Let me show you. Wiped down pretty good. I'll show you the glass cleaner that I use, but the vehicle is fully covered, and got to mix up the primer and give it a shot. But this is the glass cleaner. I've shown this before. I really like that stuff. I think it's probably quite a few guys out there using that. I'd imagine. I've seen them. But nevertheless, moving forward, when it comes to doing the primer, a ladder on either side and my foot going here, we'll have to do in order to just do the primer. But I have to come up with something else when it comes to doing the color and the clear. So let me get in there, get it mixed, get the gun out, and get it going. And once it's shot on there, I'll chime back in. So stand by. Okay, I sprayed the primer. There it be. Both sides where it was needed. You don't need to prime the entire thing. It's not necessary to do that. Only the areas that are needed. If you're going to do body work, like put a filler, yeah, you would need to use it. But there's no necessarily need to prime the entire top. There's still a base on there, so that's really all you really need. The primer is used so that this way, when I go to sand it, that anywhere where it was sanded and the paint was removed and got down to either bare metal or to the original factory sealer, it's so that the transition between those points end up being flat and smooth. So that's why you spray it the way it is. You don't tape it off, because then you create a line and you don't want that. So this is all fine and dandy. It's wet. It's setting up, doing its thing. And come Monday, I will sand it down, and I'm sure it'll be at that point simple enough, and start putting the color down and then clear it. So if all goes well, Monday, the latest Tuesday morning, the top should be painted. So in the meantime, until that part of the stage takes place, stand by. Well, hey there. Welcome back. We just got done sanding the roof from the primer that I sprayed last. And I am fixing to roll her on out and finish prepping it and start getting it ready to put the color on there. And what I mean by that is I got to clean it. And once it's all clean and the paper is nice and tight with the tape, because I had to take the paper back off the driver's side so I can move the vehicle. So that's what I'm about to do right now. I'm going to show you what I did and go from there. See how the paper is somewhat off. I didn't want to get the sanding dust on there, but as you can see, it's all nicely sanded. I first went over it with 220. It doesn't cut it that fast, but quick enough. I didn't want to go heavier. This way it wouldn't take that much to get the 220 sand marks out of it. And then I went over it with 400, and then some Scotch-Brite stuff. And what I'm going to end up doing is spraying it with some window cleaner, wipe it all down really nice, blow off all the dust, make sure it's all off. And then I'm going to drop the color on there. And then once there's enough color on it, then I'm going to clear it. So in the meantime, stand by, and once the color is on, I'll show you. So stand by. Well, the color has been laid down a few times, as you can see. So after it flashes really well, I'll put some clear on her. So in the meantime, stand by. Okay, we are clear for takeoff. The clear is on. That's right. Finally, clear is on. I'm going to be going over it again. I'm waiting for it to tack up some more. But I figured before it starts to get a little darker outside, I would show it so you'd be able to see it. And there it is. And it came out really nice. There'll be no cutting and buffing involved. Hallelujah. It's laying out nice and smooth because it's flat. And that's going to be that on that part. Yep. Get a little front view maybe. But until the next part, which will be after it's cleared, you know, I get to strip all this stuff off of it and start putting everything back together on there and start finishing it up. But in the meantime, until that happens, stand by. All right, I'm back. And as you can see, 1984 Ford F-250 is now all uncovered, untaped, and obviously it's all got to be really cleaned up, really nice, because it got pretty dusty, pretty dirty. But at least now I could start putting some of the things back together that belong on there and get the rest of the stuff done. We're getting there. Definitely it's getting there. Just stepped on something kind of funny. Don't know what it was. But let me give you a little walk around. You can see how dirty the truck is, sort of, kind of. And I got to put that stainless strip on. It's inside the cab. I'll get that back on there. But you can see just how dusty and dirty it is. And yesterday I filmed the top all done. So you can see all that dust on there and stuff. But when I get her done, she'll be nice and pretty. I mean, as far as perfect with all this. Wasn't supposed to do anything with it, but it definitely has to be cleaned. You could see all the dirt on there. So I will make it nice and pretty again. And then he's going to have to get himself tires. They are dry rotted. There's one busted in the back. Mickey Thompson's, they still exist, so he's happy about that. He won't have to get new wheels. He'll just have to get new tires, and he could probably match the same thing. But until the next part of this beautiful truck, stand by. Okay, I'm back, and the real star of the show is right there, Puss in Boots. And she's eating her food for, I believe, the third time today. And we're not even close to dinner time. So I think she's got 2 more times that she'll want to have something to eat. And that's okay. She can eat as much as she wants. But back to the project at hand. Let's see, there we go. As you can see, I got everything all cleaned up. As far as all the paper and stuff off, I believe I mentioned that. I got the horns back on. I got the chicken lights back in place. Checked all the bulbs. There was one bad one. Changed it. Had to get them. I can't believe how expensive a stupid little bulb is. And then they tried to hit me up for 50 cents more after tax. I'm going, how is it $1.05 more in tax on an $8 bulb? Are you kidding me? So I showed them that the price was basically $8. It was $7.99. Nevertheless, new one's in. The visor's back on, and I actually siliconed with my favorite stuff each of the holes that were there, the right stuff. I put that in on all the holes up there, so they're sealed up. Make sure it doesn't get any water in there. And now I'm about to clean the antenna and put that back in place. Let me see. Did I get a shot up here? No, I got to finish dusting it off. Made a little mess putting the chicken lights back on. But once that's cleaned, I'll magnet it back on there. It's a nice thing that it was magnetic. I cleaned the roll bars with super fine steel oil. I went over them. They look a lot shinier, including the lights. I went over all those. The rails, both sides. The turf bars on the sides. I noticed as I was cleaning the windshield with it that it needs new windshield wiper blades, so I put new ones on there. I took the superfine steel wool over all the glass just to make sure there is no overspray on them. So I spent some time so far cleaning it up. I still have to really wash it down good. As you can see, all the dirt that's on there, dust, dirt, whatever. And then I'll move on to the other stuff. tomorrow I'm going to go get the exhaust parts at a supply center that deals with mostly, I think 100%, all of exhaust parts, fittings, mufflers, you name it, they got it. And I'll be going there tomorrow to snatch up after I make my list of what I need and move on from there. And later on I will order the antennas. I have not ordered them yet. I got to see what other lights are out. This one down here looks funny. That doesn't mean that it's out, but I will check it and see if the bulb burnt out or something, and maybe I can clean the lens on the inside. I'm not sure. I don't even know if you can get that stuff anymore. This KC lights, this diameter is so old. I have no idea, but nevertheless, I will investigate. I will move on, and until then, oh, and the air horns are back on too, as you can see. Well, let me turn on the lights so you can see them. The parking lights anyway. See, all the bulbs are lit up. I took a picture of them. I put them on my Instagram. I will put them on my Instagram page tomorrow morning. See that? Look how nice and pretty. All them chicken lights. That's what they call them, chicken lights. I don't know why, but that's what they call them. But it's all lit up, and even these are lit up. I went around and checked. All the marker lights are on, front and back. The bottom lights are on. So that's the scoop. Oh, and I got to get me some 3M tape. I don't think I have enough to fulfill that strip there. I'm sure it takes at least 2, if not 3, going across to hold that back in place. But as you can see, nice and pretty. So stand by. Okay, it's the next day. I went and picked up a bunch of exhaust parts, and we're upsizing from the mufflers back to 2.5 inches. So I duplicated what's underneath the truck to do the same exhaust pattern, so that it'll definitely help the flow, the exhaust. It'll sound a little bit better, and these are all the parts I'm going to need. So in the meantime, I'm working on getting the old setup out in one piece so that I can actually redo it out here on the floor. I got my torches so I can just heat up the pipe. The clamps are off. I got come along on there to put some pressure on there so that the exhaust will come out carefully, nicely off the actual mufflers, which are, you can see part of it just past the drive shaft, but I'm definitely going to be able to get them off nice and easy, nice and clean. And once it's out, I'll chime back in. So stand by. Alrighty, I'm back, and I got the last half of the exhaust out. That's from the back side of the mufflers. Connectors that are going to go to the back of the muffler, and then this will go to the new pipe, the 2.5-inch pipe right there. In the meantime, so I've been setting it up, mocking it up. I got everything needed, I hope, I believe. And as you can see, that's how that'll go. 90s. I just lost my my microphone. And I broke my glasses. That's always good. Absolutely. I seem to break these quite often. Yeah, I seem to break them quite often, but that's all right. I got more. All right, so as you can see, 2 90s, and I got 2 20s, which is the same as these. Yep, so I'm going to put them the same way that they had them. Square them up like that and run it accordingly. And I got plenty of straight pipe. I measured out. These only come in 7.5 feet long. So I measured out to where I actually needed 3 of them. Between going through here, that 3 feet right there, and then you got another little more than 3 feet right here. So you have just these 2 pieces right here would take care of 1 stick. So you'd end up using 7 foot for just these 2 pieces, and then this piece here is longer than 3 feet. So, and that one, like I said, is about 3. It's probably a little bit more. And then this piece right here. So 3 sticks at 7 foot works out well. Yep. I want to make sure I have enough. I don't want to end up being short and then have to make another trip to go get what's needed. And what I'm also doing is, this is a 3-inch end, so like an adapter. Obviously the paper will come off, and then this will go on the end of that, and then you'll have a 3-inch tip at the end, which will look a lot beefier and more masculine to match the truck than those little, which looks like 1.5 inch or 1 3/4 inch little chrome tips over there. Yeah, they're pretty small. So I got everything I need. Clamps. These pieces here will be welded just like they are there, but when it gets attached to the muffler, I will clamp it. That's how it was, but I obviously need bigger clamps. And at the end, I'll need a clamp for these pieces here, so I'll clamp them on as well, and this way I'll be able to mount them and hold it on. And I needed another hanger to replace the one that was up there, and this is identical to the one that's up there, but because they had it welded here to the pipe up there, I'll do something similar to that. But it bolts on the same way, it's the same length, so that works out really well. Yeah, so that is my plan. Got to get my metal chop saw out so I could start cutting the pieces and start welding them together and just make it exactly the way it is. This way it'll go right back on the way it was. So that's the plan, and until it's all made, stand by. All right, I'm back, and I had to kind of fast forward to actually having the exhaust done. If you want to check out some more pictures of the process, you can always go on my Instagram page. It's Radical Curves 157, and you'll be able to check out more of the steps, but hopefully you get to really see the finished product as I lay on the concrete, focusing up, going around, and it goes back to the back into the mufflers. Let's see if I can get a shot from back here. I think you can see a little bit there. Let's see, zoom in. There you go. Hangers in place. Zoom back out. Oh, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. But anywho, there it is, all finished up. It's even on both sides. Same space on both sides. And the part that sticks out is the same amount. Yep, it's a lot more massive looking than before. The little like Nissan Altima type exhaust tips on there. But hey, you know, that's what his daddy did, and that's fine. Now we improved it. So the next step is, because they came in, and that step is the antennas. And they're just, I discovered they're not really CV antennas, they're just antennas that light up. And that's what I got here. I think this is the only thing I can get that was amber and close to it. These are supposedly 4-footers. They don't seem like it, but they light up amber color. And I also think they have the ability of a CV. I'm not sure, but it's the only thing I could find that came close to matching what was on there. That's what he wanted. You can't replace them. I don't even think they sell. Overall length was 31 inches. They don't even sell that style anymore, which, you know, you got to figure. I don't know how old they are or how long ago his dad put them on there, but yeah, they definitely don't make them anymore. So we got the newer version. They're LEDs, and I'll be putting them on tomorrow. And then I know the other thing I got to do is I got to go get some 3M double-sided tape for that stainless piece right there, which is this piece right here. I straightened it out. It was a little bent, and I cleaned it up a little bit. And tomorrow I will put it on there, and then I will verify his list. Definitely have to wash it, clean it up really good, and see what else is on his list. I think at this point, other than waiting for a couple of vinyl things I needed for their names to go back up there, because there's no way for me to blend that such a tiny little spot. So I had a friend, which, I got to pay the friend, it ain't for free, but make me up an Anthony and a Joey, I believe. I sent them pictures, measurements, duplicated it. I'm sure it's going to be great. And the top is all together. Air horns, that boomerang, antenna, lights, everything. It's all working. I'm going to see if I can get replacement bulbs. I've been checking for these KC lights, and they're like $250. And I'd imagine it's got to be for a set. I only saw one light fixture that came close to looking like that, and they wanted $250. So the only thing's wrong with that one and that one on the opposite end is they're burnt out. I did some electrical tests, and I got power going to them, but the bulbs are no good. And it's the whole bulb. It's not like an internal bulb. So we're gonna see what I could do with that. If I can't find replacements, I'm gonna see if he wants to spend that kind of money, $250, maybe more. Not really sure. It's kind of crazy that you can't buy replacement bulbs. Not that I could find. Maybe they can find them, or if y'all got comments down below where I can actually get them, that'd be awesome. But not really sure. That's a hefty bill just for that. These were a little over $100 after tax, and not that I was looking for the cheapest, but it was really the only thing I could find. So, nevertheless, wow, $250. It's a bit much, but I don't know if you want that fancy stuff. I guess you're gonna pay for it. But we'll see if we can get a replacement bulb. I'll check tomorrow when I go and get the 3M double-sided tape. See if any of my suppliers will actually carry the bulb. I'll take just the bulb and maybe put some tape over KC so it doesn't confuse them, and try to order something like that. But just as long as the diameter and the two prongs on the inside to connect the positive and the negative, it's really all you need. It's only two of them. All the other ones at the top all work. The ones in the center and the front all work. There's a lot of switches in that truck. Don't know what most of them even go to, but that's okay. I don't need to. But then, oh yeah, I got to get the air horn to work. That tank in there. Figure out what's going on with that. If there's a compressor to it. But he asked if I can get the air horns to work. I'm gonna have to check that out tomorrow as well. Hopefully I can figure that out. And think that'll be that. But tomorrow's another day. As you can see, it's Power Play Garage. And in the meantime, not that it's over, but if you wouldn't mind subscribing if you haven't already, that's great. I think I throw a little reminder in there. But tomorrow's another day, so until then, peace out. All right, it's the next day, and I took a trip to Advance Auto. It's one of the suppliers I deal with. On this truck, I think I had to deal with 3 different suppliers because of what was needed, and I guess for how old the vehicle is, not everybody carries anything. So I just got done. Where did I put it? Here it is. Cleaning up the backside of this particular stainless strip. I don't know what it was on it or is on it. Not really sure. It's also on the bed of the truck. And I don't know if you can see the mess, but you can get an idea of the product. It's on the floor. Let's see, zoom in. You see that? I don't know what it is. but it had to come off so that this way the 3M double-sided tape actually, hopefully, will stick. It is roughly 55 degrees outside right now. It is pretty cold. That's why you'll catch me with a sweatshirt and a hat, because it's cold. I don't even have my back door open because the wind is blowing and it's definitely going to bring in that cold draft. But I even knocked down some of whatever this black stuff is down, hopefully flat enough to where this automotive double-sided 3M tape is going to go on. And I'm hoping that it sticks. We really need it to stick. Yep, we'll find out. Let's see. Nope. And I even rubbed it down with rubbing alcohol. Well, might as well cut this off. It just stuck whatever on there. So I'm going to wipe it down again with rubbing alcohol and see if that'll help. I really don't know what this stuff is. Can't say it enough. Must have been some sort of glue brush on adhesive. So let's see if I can't get it to work with pretty much the best stuff on the market. It's made by 3M. It's automotive double-side tape. Okay, here we go. Some alcohol, the disinfected type, and also the type that removes any wax or anything else for that matter, I'd imagine. Yep, let me do this again. Alrighty then, let's see what happens. Still a little bit more of this stuff on there, because I don't believe that this will stick. If the 3M tape will not stick onto that stuff, it's too flaky. Hopefully it does now. I get a couple of rows on there. Let's see. Try a little spot. I'm not sure. It took something off with it. Well, I don't know if the cold weather is affecting this. Let's see if I just kind of go over it with the tape. Maybe the sticky stuff will do something. Maybe what might help this, I'm not really sure. I think I'm going to try first spraying it maybe with a 3M. It's actually made by 3M again. Adhesive spray. I believe it would have stuck to the stainless that's clean on here. Yeah, you know what I might try doing? Take a wire wheel over it. I really don't want to keep wasting strips of the tape. So what I'm going to do is, until I have it figured out, stand by. Okay, I'm back. What I ended up doing is two things. I took the chrome piece, stainless piece, and I took it over to the pedestal wire wheel, and I think I removed a lot more of the product, and at the same time it heated up this piece, so the actual 3M tape stuck to it really nice. So just for the safety part, I actually took some heat to that area on the bed of the truck, because just like now when you touch it, it is cold. I'm probably guessing that this might be 60 degrees, 55. You know, and I'm sure when it comes to sticking any kind of tape to it, it does affect it. I'm pretty sure of that. I could be wrong, but it's sticking there pretty good. I don't think it's going to come off, not anytime soon. Anyway, I will let the client know to keep the eye on it, and if he knows of a better product to use, maybe get it popped off and put it on there and hope for the best. So that's the story on that part. So I'm going to turn the gas off. Don't want to waste it and lose it. All right, that takes care of that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move to cleaning up the mess. And actually, I put 3 rows on in the middle, and obviously one on the bottom and one towards the top. So I got 3 chances of sticking it to it. So the next thing I'm going to try doing is putting the antennas on. And actually, I'm going to open them up for the first time. I'm going to check it out. Can't wait to actually see them. In the pictures, they look pretty neat. Oh, they're boxed pretty good. Interesting. Oh, yeah. The good thing is that the wires are already out there to wire these in because they're hooked on a separate switch, and that's the way they're going to stay, because I'm going to show you all. I probably already did, but I'm going to show you again. All those toggle switches in there, they're really nice. They light up, so I'm not about to change them. Okay, the first row of switches are on the part of the dash right there. You can see them. Those are all for the bumper lights. Then we have all the gauges, and it's got all the gauges that would be up there. I believe he transferred the power side of them to here because when you start the vehicle, you can see those gauges moving, and not so much those, other than I think the fuel gauge works, and I don't know if the speedometer works. I haven't driven it. Sure it does. And then you got all those switches up there. Let's see, we got 2, 4, 6, so there's 12 switches. And then I guess those could be breakers, I'm not really sure. And you got those things right there. So I'm not fixing to change them. I'm supposed to get the air horns to work, and there's that. I hope it's not something that has to be changed out, because they look like nice horns. And there's the new light. It does work. I did test it. And there's Puss in Boots. She's enjoying her second time around for breakfast. Yep, she's in charge again. So let's check the passenger side and see if we have any switches over here. Well, we got a CB there and something right there and lights right there, but there's no other switches that I could see. So it takes care of that. And actually, I did adjust the doors, because when you close them, I know I definitely did the driver's side. I think I might have done the passenger side too. There was movement, too much movement in and out, and the door was a fair amount of distance away from the B-pillar. And with that being said, when I would open or close the door, I felt, there was a lot more slack there. So now it's nice and even. It's tight. You're not going to get that rattling thing going on. So that had to be done. It's just a matter of taking a Torx, loosening this up, and then moving it in a little bit. And then it grabs a whole lot better, and it's flush. So that was bugging me. I had to fix it. I know it wasn't on the list, but I had to fix it. It was bugging me. So she's done. and I'm going to mount those. So until they're mounted and lit up, stand by. All right, I'm back. And the one antenna, which only came in the box, like I said, is definitely mounted and hooked up. And it looks pretty nice, actually. It matches everything else that's on the truck. And now I ordered another one. I tried to get two that matched, but by the time you found two that matched, I wasn't going to be here, I think, the first week of February, like towards the end of it. And that's the other antenna that's going to be replaced with the same one over there. So I placed the order for duplicate antenna, and it's supposed to be here Thursday. So when Thursday comes, I definitely will be putting it on. And in the meantime, I investigated the air horn situation. And so I don't kill the battery. Well, not that that will kill the battery because it's LED. I'm going to turn off the parking lights. Let's see. All right, let's see. That should be it. Oh, it's off. I'm pushing like I didn't turn it off. Oh, so is that better? Okay, so back to the air horn. This is the tank for it, I believe. And this is some sort of contraption. I don't know if you can really see it. I'm not going to call it a module or something, but it is tied into that tank. And there's no power going to it, but there is a airline type fitting, some sort of inlet or outlet, most likely inlet, that I would think that would come from a compressor. And researching the manufacturer of that air compressor, I mean the air horn setup right there, it needs an air compressor, and there is not one on this truck. Obviously, it has been taken out somewhere along its lifetime. There's not one mounted underneath the truck. There is not one underneath the hood. And not knowing exactly this particular unit, I've never seen one like this before because it is definitely a much older model. Probably was installed in 85 or 86, somewhere around there. This is an 84. Don't know when his dad did all this nice stuff to it. But just looking up that particular unit, just the compressor alone, if it's the right one for this, but it is from that manufacturer of the air horn part, is $200, then plus tax. And I don't know if the system is missing anything else, or will it adapt to this old setup? So I'm going to have to run all this by the client and see what he wants to do with it. It is a nice piece, and down here it's not a bad idea to have a big horn. But nevertheless, that's that part right there. So other than giving this one heck of a bath, which it definitely needs, I still have to go over the list. And obviously when the other antenna comes in Thursday, we'll install it. And by then, I believe everything will be finished. Cleaned, nice, pretty, everything done that's supposed to be done. So until then, most likely tomorrow, I'll be back. Stand by. Well, I'm back. It is the next day, and as you saw, I was washing this beautiful truck down by hand, and then I took the blower over it, made it a lot faster to dry it off. I didn't want to spend all that kind of time trying to dry it off with a other towel or a chamois or something. Well, the one thing I noticed that when I was putting this sun visor back on, the windshield wiper blades, the rubbers on there were coming apart. So went to Advance again, and I got me some 18-inch blades. That's what it takes. And it also has the pin style, not the hook type, in case you didn't know what you really had. But this is an 84, and they really got this package sealed. Wow. You would think they were keeping $1 million in this thing. Here we go. Alrighty. Alright, what's the trick of getting these things off? See if I could see it without my reading glasses. I'm not really sure. You think that this metal clip in here would be the source of removing it. So I'm going to get me a little screwdriver, try to pick that off. I'm going to change these things out. And then the next thing I'm going to do, I noticed that also while I was out there washing it, I let it run because I can't remember. I know since I've had it, the only time it was running was when I actually drove it, not so much to get it in here. I ended up pulling it in here in the beginning with the machine. But once I had it in here and I got it running, it stayed running. But well, I think I let it run 15, 20 minutes. But considering the fact ever since everything was, replaced from the water pump, all the belts and the seals and stuff, I didn't run it long enough. So while I was out there cleaning it and drying it, I let it run because it really needed to. It's been cold. And this is an 84, so back then, the carbureted actually had the electric choke. So it definitely idled up high in the beginning, but it took a few minutes to warm up enough to actually move it because then, those years were notorious for, if they didn't warm up, they really didn't move. And same thing with this. But once it warmed up, it moved just fine, idled out there real nice, looked like it was burning pretty clean. So, but the other thing is when I accelerate, I got a belt squeal. So the next thing I'm going to do is go underneath the hood. I noticed that the only belt that's a little loose in comparison to the other, not that it's like loose, is the power steering one. So I'm going to tighten up on that one. And then so that the next time I start it, hopefully that new belt squeal will go away. And then I'm going to take that antenna off. And tomorrow, supposedly, the match of that will be coming in. I really didn't have much choice. I tried everything. I even called a place that the lady went by Pink Lightning. Yeah, she used to sell everything for the big trucks. Everything. Wheel covers, lug nut covers, mirrors, special items, even stuff like that for tractor trailers, antennas. I mean, the store was loaded. So she's still in business, but the only thing she's selling, she said, is strobe lights. I said, oh, okay. I don't know how you keep a storefront going just by selling strobe lights. I don't get it, but hey, it's not my business. Do what you got to do. Hopefully you're making money and you're still living and surviving. So needless to say, I tried every avenue I could. I was even going to return that one and get a different set. But the fact of the matter was it wasn't going to come until 2 weeks. And really all I was going to end up saving them, I think it came out to almost $100 for the two. So I would have been saving them $100, but they weren't going to be like that. And I don't want to wait 2 weeks. No, this truck needs to be done. Let the client get it and enjoy it and move on. Yeah, it's time to get it finished. I've either put some other people off. I said, listen, man, I got to get this baby done. I can't keep, doing a little here, a little there. and getting all these other things in and out. No, it was time. Done. So I went over the list, and the only thing I believe that I have to talk to him about is the compressor, like I mentioned yesterday, and see what he has to say about that. I don't know if he's going to want to put that kind of money into it, because I think you got to change the whole system, because they don't sell this system anymore. It's too old. And other than that, everything else I've gone through, other than putting the windshield wiper blades, and I also had to get a heavy duty adhesive spray, because in the process, that strip that I put on yesterday in the back over there, it came off. I don't know what they used to put them on there before, but it looked like it was brushed on, maybe some kind of tar or heavy duty stuff. I'm not really sure. I've never seen it. But today's world, you use the automotive 3M double-sided tape. You know, it comes with that red plastic on there, and you peel it and stick it. It stuck really fine to the stainless, but obviously it didn't do very well when it came to sticking to the metal. So I'm going to spray both, and I think that'll give me the oomph it needs. But the good thing of having the 3M tape on there, I think it adds what it needs, because at the top of the stainless, it's got an indentation going inward towards the metal, and the same thing at the bottom. So it'll make it as to where it did that buildup, so it should easier time of bonding. But we'll see what happens. I had to get it, have to use it. I'm going to do that next, and after that, I think we're golden. So it's just a matter of tomorrow putting the antenna on, making sure it works, take a look-see over everything. I know everything is working. All those lights up there work. These down here all now work, because I replaced the 2 of them. And I'm glad that they had replacement bulbs for them, because $250 for one that I saw. I could be wrong. When it came to KC, for the whole housing, not for the bulb, and they didn't sell replacement bulbs that I saw. I researched it. I didn't want to waste, a half hour, an hour trying to figure out KC's situation there. But everything I saw about their lights, they didn't have replacement bulbs. You pretty much had to buy the assembly when it comes to that. And I think I was seeing $250. I'm like, no way. That's just sick. Spending, if it is $250 for 2, even that's crazy. And in the meantime, Advance had the right size bulb. Granted, it doesn't say KC on the front, but I don't think it's going to matter to them, considering the fact that it was definitely a considerable amount of money cheaper. I would think. I would appreciate that. That's crazy. But anyhow, they all work. Oh yeah, and I have to put the bracket for the battery in there. I believe it's in a box in the front seat. I have to put that, reinstall that. And I think that's it. So let me get to change these things out, and I'll get right back with you, so stand by. There she is, Puss in Boots, the girl in charge. Yeah, there she is. Absolutely. All right, so moving forward, the new windshield wiper blades are on. I tightened up the power steering belt, and I got the battery strap. There was actually 2 of them inside, and one of them was missing, the hold down, which I believe went into this area here. This might have been the original battery section, because it's set up that way. This is a aftermarket one that the battery, when it came here, that's where their original battery sat. And this bracket, this setup was in there, and I'm sure that this was a part of it. So to make it work, because the amount of threads only on the side of this, I flipped this thing up, which works out better actually. And I had to make the hole on this side down here where the hook's in a little bigger. I had to do a little modification. The plastic part that sticks out on the battery, I had to make a little groove in it on both sides so that the hooks would go in there better. But now she's sturdy, and that's all that matters. So all that's done. Took the antenna off, and hopefully tomorrow, according to plan, that the new antenna will be here, and that'll go on, and that's going to be it as far as completing what's on the list. So in the meantime, I did end up spraying an automotive adhesive spray made for outdoors wetness and all that stuff. I sprayed both sides that stainless strip and plus the bed of the truck, and it seems to be holding on pretty good. So other than that, I believe she's pretty. Yeah, she's done in that aspect. I'm sure the client will be happy, and it'll be on the road again. Yep, I'm gonna let this latch down. Well, maybe not. Maybe the latch that's in there. Push that down. I might as well put this back on the stand so I can use two hands. I think along the way, leaning over that little latch. Yeah. So stand by. Okay, problem solved. It was the hood stops that were actually up too high. Watch. Awesome, look at that. Works like a charm. Absolutely. All right, so tomorrow, hopefully the antenna comes in. I bolt it up, I wire it up, I solder it up, I heat shrink it up. I do all those things, not necessarily in that order. And then I put its blessing, and away it'll go, and let the client enjoy the vehicle. Obviously, he's got to get himself some new tires. I'm not really sure where all that can take place, but I do know you can buy them, Mickey Thompson's, the Bama Jamma ones. Yep, they still sell them. I noticed in cleaning this that this truck has been egged. If you all folks remember, the older folks remembered, when it comes to the single stage paint, and just by the marking of this and the way it is, it's either got egged or some heavy duty bird came flying and was going this way and dropped whatever came out of his butt side, and it just splattered all over. So those marks are up there, but that to me reminds me of someone throwing an egg at that truck. Anyway, but nevertheless, unfortunately, back then a lot of kids were doing that silliness. But until tomorrow, we'll see you then. Peace out. Alrighty, it's the next day, and the antenna showed up. There it is. I got it mounted. I just got done soldering the two wires together. I'm waiting for it to cool down some so I can put the protective sleeves over them individually. But I got something I want to point out. Well, one is my big feet, and they are big. It seems to get in the way of a lot of stuff, especially when I'm walking past junction cord, something plugged in. For some reason, I hook everything that's on the floor. Air hose, extension cords, whatever's in the path, my feet hook. And I tell you, sometimes it's really annoying. But I have two soldering guns. One I purchased a little while back, sometime maybe a few years ago, and I think I've used it a few times, and I said then it was junk then, and it's junk now. And not too long ago, a friend of mine was able to get an older soldering gun that somebody was throwing away, and he brought it to me, and I'm glad he did. But like I said, my big clumsy feet, I had this gun. It's an older model. It is a Willer 8200, and it works great. It's just missing the light bulb, and now it's got some zip ties on it because I had it here on this little shelf. My foot hooked it as I walked by and pulled it to the floor, and it broke in basically three pieces. It's two halves, but the two halves came apart, and then the handle broke off this. It still works. I just used it. In the meantime, I was attempting to use this one. Junk. Junk, 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 junk. I hooked this one. Going to the stool to zip tie this one together. Once again, big feet got in the way, pulled this one to the floor, but this junk didn't break. You know, it really is. It's junk. That's probably made in China somewhere. And I believe this one's got to be American made. Let me see. Where is it made? Watch and prove me wrong. Maybe it be made in Japan or something. Let's see. See, Weather Corp Group. Easton, PA. USA. That's right. Made in the United States. It's better. That thing down there is junk. Made in China. But within seconds of pressing this trigger, this thing heated up, which then heated up the wire, and I was able to use the thinner soldering wire to melt it like on there instantly. Where I probably spent 5 minutes heating up the other one, trying to get it hot enough to melt this thin wire. Well, I mean, it's just so frustrating sometimes. And my big feet get in the way, and that gets frustrating. So I'm going to put this safely on the floor and move forward. Yeah, I just thought I'd give you my pennies worth, maybe 5 cents worth. Inflation has gone up. Parts have gone up. Everything's gone up. All right, so actually there's some melted solder on the stuff that needs not to have it on there. And I'm going to attempt to slide these plastic, rubber-like plastic, individually over what I just soldered. He did get it for me when he first brought the truck over to me. So that's that. So which is awesome is I'm going to close this down. Look at that. Closed beautifully. And it's now finished. Back on the road again. So that's going to end this segment. Probably the final segment on it. I don't believe he's going to have me do anything else to it. So in the meantime, I do appreciate people watching, and forgive my, I don't know, disappointment and anger in the old neighbors, but, you know, got to get the word out there. People need to be a little considerate. You know, which brings me to another thing I brought up with my youngster neighbor across the street. I was helping out a little bit on some brakes for his girlfriend's vehicle. And he YouTube stuff, and I said, well, the person that gave you some information on YouTube, did you subscribe? He said, no, I just look at these things. I look at a few of them. I don't subscribe. I said, well, why not? What's the big deal? It doesn't cost you nothing. You know, he helped you, obviously, or she helped you with giving you some information, and then I came over and helped you the rest of the way. You know, it would be nice if people actually subscribed, especially if they got some good information, you know. And I know on just one of my prior videos, I think I have 3,000 views, and a few of them commented that helped them. They appreciated it. And heck, if I got 3,000 people to see it and maybe use it, why couldn't they just do the subscribe button? I don't get it. You didn't really have to make a comment. You know, I know I got the thumbs up and stuff, but heck, you know, that's what it's all about. And I'm not getting anything out of it. I don't have nowhere near enough subscribers. Would be awesome if I did, but in any event, I do appreciate people that have subscribed to me. That's really nice. I appreciate it. But like I said, that's going to end this. Thank you very much. Until the next video actually is going to be on this bad boy. Yep, this Hummer that I this smart car that I lifted. I am making a front push bar, roll bar type thing for the front. Yep, absolutely. So in saying that, that's going to probably be the next video. I've been playing around with that at night. But until then, try to get something done. Thanks for watching.